At first, Shay was horrified to find her father pointing a gun in her face. The small black mouth of the 9mm pistol was spaces away from the tip of her nose, striking terror in her heart. She could feel his eye on her, but her eyes were on the gun. Would he do it? No, she realized. Her father wouldn't shoot her. For the man beside him wearing an identical tactical officer gear, she could not be sure. A look of confusion settled onto his face, much like his daughter's. His recognition set in. Seconds later, Patrick Clare lowered his gun. Shay? He said, eyes sweeping over her. She nodded meekly. Her heart sank as she looked past the two officers to see red and blue flashing. Police vehicles now barricaded the only way she knew of out of the city. What's going on? Do you know where the sick people are? Did they hurt you? Her father didn't sound worried, instead threatening, nearly angry, as if he believed someone had endangered the safety of his eldest daughter. The drive of duty was present in his eyes. He wasn't here to make sure she was safe. He was probably unaware she was even at the CDC today. He was here to track down the sick people. Unaware his daughter was the one of which he spoke. No, Dad. They didn't do anything to us. She spoke the truth, simply because they hadn't hurt themselves. Not yet. Good. Have you seen them? He shook her head. It was painful to lie to her father, but in truth the dark voice in the back of her mind was silent. There was a small chance he'd shoot her. He was a dedicated officer, and orders were orders. Beginning to part her lips in reply, the girl was silenced by a new male voice, sounding from behind her. Craning her neck, she could make out the outline of a tall figure behind Cassie, the edges of his brown hair all she could see. The speaker was unrecognizable, but a student. She didn't tag him with a threat. Cassie? What's going on? Cassie's boyfriend, Noah, said. Cassie looked scared, sending Noah grabbing for her hand, but she kept pulling away. The plague is transferred by touch and bodily fluids. She could only imagine what mental damage it would inflict on her if the girl inflicted her boyfriend. Who are you? Her father's comrade barked. He was younger and of smaller size. The officer aimed his gun towards the taller boy. His eyes instantly widened. Noah took a few cautious steps back, never peeling his gaze from the threat. Brian, this isn't necessary. He's just a kid, her father said sternly. He might be one of the sick ones. He does not look sick, Patrick Clare argued, taking a warning step toward the other man. The officer, Brian, switched his gaze to his comrade for a moment, but didn't rally. Thank you, Dad, she said in her head. Don't let them hurt us, please. Brian took a few steps closer to Noah and Cassie. Carson put his arm in front of Shay in a protective manner, both of them anxiously watching the scene unfolding before their eyes. Her heart was thudding beneath her ribcage, the tension of the moment nearly unbearable. The ugly truth was going to come out soon. It was a miracle neither of the men had noticed their eyes yet. Out of the corner of her vision, she noticed her father raising his gun again, only he was aiming it towards the advancing officer. He's actually going to defend us. Then again, he has no idea what the people he's after. That could change everything. He's trained to follow orders, and I've never seen him do any differently. Noah was pretending to Cassie, never daring to remove his eyes from the officer. Speak up, son, he barked. Noah turned to face him, towering over his older. Her father's comrade leaned onto his heels, giving her body some little more space. His straight, rigid posture was the stance of a threatened man. I don't have to, he replied gallantly. You should know better than to backtalk a cop. The officer spat as he lunged toward Cassie. Noah. Noah backed up, knowing better than to strike a police officer. Her father's partner, however, did not stop and surged forward, grabbing the boy's wrist, and he tried to free himself, but ended up slamming his elbow into the man's nose. Brian stumbled backwards, a sneer curling the corners of his mouth. You little shit, he spat, wiping a trickle of blood away from his nose. Noah stood, confused, his hands before him in a defensive manner. It was an accident. The police officer paid no heed to Noah's plea. Before he lunged again. The two locked in a tangle of arms and legs, one moving defensively, another offensively. It struck her fear into her heart to watch. Would he be arrested? or worse, beaten until he couldn't fight back. You should run. Forget about him. This was a distraction. Shay noticed Brian's finger inching closer to the trigger on his handgun. He wouldn't hesitate to shoot Noah. It was apparent, and he would do it right before Cassie's eyes. The girl had already been through too much today. Killing her boyfriend in front of her would be the cherry on top of the worst date ever Sunday. It would be cruel to leave, she realized. Cassie wouldn't follow, and she'd be left for dead. Just one of the sick ones, they'd say. Dad, do something, she shouted, aware the officers were powerless to end the scuffle. Any one of them laid a finger on Noah or the officer, and they were dead. It was not a weight she wished upon her own, or anyone else's shoulders. Unfortunately, her father didn't have time to break up the fight, for Cassie had propelled herself into the fray. Somehow the girl had managed to break the two apart. She pushed Noah back from Brian, who were both panting and bore bloody noses. Brian's jawbone was swollen, but not quite as swollen as the fury in his eyes. He kept his weapon on Noah's chest. It was then the doctor's words registered in her mind. He infected or spread the disease, but they die too quickly. The plague is transferred by touch and bodily fluids. Let him go, she screeched suddenly, despite knowing it was too late. Cassie's new blue-gray eyes widened as she realized her boyfriend, looking directly at Shay as she did. Why? It's transferred by touch. Shay? What's transferred by touch? Her father asked. She ignored him. Cassie, why does my throat hurt so? The severe bout of coughing began, causing Shay to cringe. The memories of her own pain stood in her head, and she shuddered, knowing the boy suffered. Meanwhile, Brian began to back away, his eyes round. His hands were trembling on his own weapon. Patrick, he's sick. He's sick, Patrick. The name of her father brought her looking to him. He appeared confused and nervous, gun no longer in his officer, but Noah. Cassie wailed at the sight, covering her eyes with her hands. Katrina rushed to her friend's side, amber eyes wide with fright as Noah's back slammed against the wall, coughing violently. There was an ear-splitting noise, and the boy's coughing was instantly silenced, for Brian had put a bullet in his chest. Cassie screamed and tried to rush for his body, but Shay leapt forwards, blocking her. Katrina restrained Cassie by her waist, and Morena seized her arms. The smell of Noah's blood filled the air, and she almost gagged, taking one peek at his body. He had fallen onto the floor, leaving a smear of crimson on the wall, all the way down to the floor. A hole grinned up from the center of his chest, dark and bloody. A pool of red was rapidly going beneath him. He lay perfectly still, blue eyes wide open, but devoid of life. Shay, put your arms back. That girl is sick. Don't you touch her, her father ordered. She gulped, not ready to give him the truth. Her eyes were rapidly flickering from Noah's body back to his daughter, as if he couldn't make a decision. Why is he not acknowledging his partner to shot a young boy? Dad? Wait, she's your daughter? Brian asked, turning away from the dead teenager to her father. Patrick nodded. We're sick. Everyone here, we're sick ones, she blurted, instantly regretting her words the moment she said them. Biting her lips, she shut her eyes, expecting when she opened them to see the gun on her face. She'd meet an end similar to Noah. I should have kept my mouth shut. What? Her father stammered. She opened her eyes to find the gun slack at his side. The man's face was blank. His mouth parted slightly, gaze locked directly on his daughter. As it had with her, the information seemed to be taking several moments to sink in and settle in the man's mind. It's true. We're the ones you guys have been given clearance to kill. Her father looked to his daughter, partner, who was staring at the teenagers with an empty expression. He took one look at the body at his feet. Did he feel no remorse? Brian remembered his gaze to them, settling on Shay. She observed him, swelling hard as she noticed the slightly threatening narrow of his eyes. Whoever standing at the head of the crowd, Shay did not waver. Well, you heard her. We have clearance to kill them, her father began. She released a strangled squeak, feeling as she'd just been punched in the stomach. Her own father. No, Dad, please, no. Come on. I need you. Please don't do this. Dad! She cried, panic blooming in her mind, needing any further speech. He turned to face her, and for a moment their eyes met, and the air was sucked from her being. He seemed to understand, for he turned, and in a split second, slammed into Brian, careening him into the wall. The smaller man's body jolted as a thud echoed across the hallway. Patrick Clare's shoulder was digging deeply into the center of his chest, using his superior size and strength to pin him. Then he turned to his daughter, tossing her his weapon. She caught it with shaking hands, eyeing at the gun on her father. It was tough to pinpoint, but fear was present in his eyes. Take it and go. The main road to the bridge is blocked. Go down the street to the left and turn. It's clear, I promise. Don't be afraid to use that. They won't hesitate to kill you. You may recognize some of them as my friends. That won't change anything. He told her through gritted teeth. She remained frozen, still as a shocked statue, unnerved by the death weapon in her hands. God damn it, Shay, run! It hurt to leave her father behind. For all she knew, this would be their final time in their home, and she was the only one who had the chance to say goodbye. It would not be a proper goodbye. There was simply no time. I love you, Dad. Tell Mom, Grayson, I love them too. Her voice was broken. Shay then took a deep breath and bolted. She ran full speed into the glass doors, opening them with the force of the collision. In a few seconds, her entire body was bathed with light, hot, humid air. Immediately outside, she slammed into a halt, the others nearly running into her. She'd expected a threat upon exiting, but the impenetrable line of police officers just a little bit more than daunting. Bracing herself would have been futile. The sight struck pure terror in her heart. Don't move. Stay where we can find you. We've come to arrest you. A voice blared into the bullhorn. Looks like someone forgot they were supposed to kill us. Carson muttered. Shocked, she elbowed him in the ribs. Don't jinx it, Marina hissed. Do not move, or we will not hesitate to shoot. Something to remember, all right, Shay said. All right, when I count to 5, we all run, okay? If we run, chances are they won't hit us. Her plan was fragile at best, but it was all she had. Looking around at everyone, terror lurked in all their expressions. Cassie's remained empty, eyes staring off into space. She's broken, she realized, and her jaw tightened. She wasn't positive her plan would work. Odds were one of them would still get gunned down. The circumstances required her to think fast, and she would do no less. Standing here would get them all killed. One. She choked, her voice breaking on the word. She dreaded saying 2. A few cops were coming their way now, approaching with guns drawn. We had the advantage of surprise on our side. Carson and Marina will surely be fine. They're super fast. The others better be praying they find their sprinting legs. 2. Marina inhaled sharply beside her. She shifted her eyes toward her best friend to see her tense muscles poised and ready to surge into action. The warrior stance did little to veil her fright. 3. Time slowed down. She was more terrified for her life than she had been at 2. The thought that there was a high chance a bullet would end her did not supply the girl with comfort. Fast had halted her count, almost. Suck it up. Fight or flight. Shay, fight or flight. You know which one will get you killed. Sure. Her breath hissed in her throat. It felt like her heart had quit working, choking on the word. Last, she said it. 5. She was pretty sure Carson started sprinting when she said 4, for he was already a good stride ahead of everyone else, although Marina was quickly gaining. She shot off quickly, willing her feet to go as fast as they could. She had runner genes, not that she utilized them. But she sure as hell was now. When she could get behind the protection of a skyscraper, she'd be out of the line of fire. All I had to do was run. Don't look back. The first gunshot startled her. She screamed, clamping her hands down over her ears, terrified. She felt no bullet tearing through the flesh, which was a good sign, but she was oblivious to the whereabouts of anyone else. A friend could be lying on the ground somewhere behind her, blood spilling onto the asphalt. Don't let it be Marina or Carson. The building was growing closer, but she knew she couldn't stop sprinting until she was out of the line of fire. Nearly 2 more shots, standing much closer than the others. She took a breath and dove. The skin on her elbows, arms, knees, and legs was torn by the friction. For a few seconds, all she could feel were flashes of heat and a stinging, white-hot pain as live pink layers of her skin exposed. The girl cried out as her legs flipped over her head, tumbling the last few feet to safety. Carson and Marina were already there. Cassie sprinted in next, pursued closely by Katrina and Kylie. JC was after, followed by Lelia. Relief washed over her as she confirmed none of them were injured, and all were alive. She exhaled slowly, feeling the pressure shift from her shoulders. Marina gasped beside her. At first she expected it to be due to injury, but the girl appeared to be unharmed. She followed her gaze, finding something that crushed all remaining hope. The only alternate route she knew of the city was blocked by another line of cars. Shit, she said, jaw open and limp. Which has fewer cars? Marina asked her suddenly, voice strained in panic. Huh? Which road has fewer cars? Marina shouted, the fear in her voice nearly drowning out the panic. She whipped her head around the concrete wall to examine the line, counting 10 with haste. 10 to head to the other side. She quickly counted 14. The one we just came off of, it's a 4-car difference, she responded. Marina nodded, but didn't speak. She was already up and sprinting around the corner. Carson followed. Nobody asked questions, following Marina with rush strides. Cassie tried to run past, but Shay snatched her. Cassie kept yanking her. She rose from her couch, now taller than the girl by a couple inches, and dropped her chin to hold eye contact. Cassie, don't do anything stupid out there. I know you just witnessed a horrible, terrible thing. But run with us. Don't throw your life away. What life? I'm gonna die. I don't know when, but I'm dying. I infected my boyfriend, and some cop put a bullet in his chest. Someone has to die in order for the rest of us to escape. And I want it to be me. Cassie, don't you dare think like that. I know it sounds suicidal, but I don't want to suffer through whatever this thing will do to me. I'd rather get it over quickly. I don't want to slowly have my body eaten away by a virus. I'd hardly feel a bullet to the head. 1 life for 8. Why in hell would you want us to live? Shay said, stripping the girl's shoulders and shaking her. Letting us survive will start something you and I don't want. Shay, just trust me. This needs to happen. Would you rather have a portion, some of you die, or all of us die, because we failed to fix the problem? Her grip loosened, stunned by the words. Logically, it made sense. Shay was a logical thinker. But morally, was it right? Why the hell do I have to do it? If you think this is grace, don't you stick around and don't go jumping in front of a bullet. You can spread it too, she shouted, suddenly finding herself angry. Why was she acting as if this was the right thing to do? It was almost irresistible to slap Cassie on her face, knocking the foolishness she was blabbering away. Just trust me, Shay. Don't you die on me, Cassie. No promises. A bullet pinged off the wall, scarcely above their heads. She whipped around, saw the advancing officers, and was on her feet instantly, sprinting around the corner with Cassie hot on her heels.